I'm going to tell you a story that means something to me. Once upon a time, good stories start that way, there was a mama duck. And this mama duck had 5 eggs. Now 4 of them were perfectly normal eggs. They looked just like duck eggs usually do. But one of them was a little bit bigger, looked a little different. But she swore to herself it didn't matter, because when they hatched, they were all her babies and she would look after them equally. And so, one by one, the first 4 eggs got a little crack in them, and then poof, out came some beautiful, perfect little yellow fluffy chicks. But the last one didn't hatch. Didn't hatch on the first day. Didn't hatch on the second day. And the mama duck started getting a little bit worried. But then, eventually, crack, pow, and there was a really, really ugly thing that came out. It's kind of grey and it had like tufty bits of fur. It didn't look at all like the beautiful little perfect yellow chicks. But she reminded herself of her promise and said, it's fine, I'm going to love them all equally. And so she waddled them all to the pond, where they all sat and played, perfectly happy, splashing in the water, having a lovely time. And then she got them to do their quacking practice, very important. So the first little duck, quack, second, quack, third, quack, fourth, quack, and the last one, quack. Worried the mother duck a little bit, what sound that ducks are supposed to make. So she kind of looked the ugly duckling over, and this ugly duckling really didn't fit in, really didn't seem to think the same way, sound the same way, look the same way. It was a total and utter outsider. And so she said, well, I love you, but I don't think I can be around you. And so the little ugly duckling was sent on its merry way. And so it waddled its way to a farmhouse where there was a farmer and his wife. And they thought, that's an odd looking but sweet enough duckling, we'll do our best to look after him. And they did for a while. But as much as they tried to care, he still wasn't quite like the hens who had their eggs, and not quite like the rest of the animals on the farmyard. Still didn't quite fit in. And so they said, well, you don't quite work with us either, so you should probably waddle on your way. And at that point, the poor little ugly duckling waddled away and was really quite sad. Nobody really seemed to want him. So he waddled a little bit further until he got to a pond of geese. Now, I don't know if you've seen geese in reality, but they are quite intimidating. They tend to go and they tend to go hark, very loud, quite scary. So the ugly duckling walked towards them and realised he didn't look that different from the goslings, the baby geese, and he thought, yes, they seem quite scary, but I'll try and do my best to fit in. And so he tried to honk and he tried to hiss, but it just didn't quite work. And so they said, well, you're clearly not one of us, and sent him on his way. And so he waddled away, and he spent months all on his own, because he knew that wherever he went no one would accept him, till he came to another pond. Now the months had passed by and he could feel that he was much bigger, probably even more ungainly and not fitting in at all with anyone else. And on this pond there were some swans, And he looked at them and he saw how graceful their necks were, how beautiful their faces were, how perfect their wings were, the pure white snowiness or the pure black of the black swans, and he just wished that he could be like them. But he knew that he was ugly and big and ungainly, and so he hid in the reeds and watched from a distance. But just watching them made him happy, just watching people who were true to who they are. But one day, the swans caught sight of a sight just half through the reeds, and they beckoned the ugly duckling over. And he waddled out, and they said, "Ah, clearly you're one of us. Come with us, be with us, play with us, have fun with us." And the duckling looked up and said, "I'm too ugly. I don't belong with you. You are beauty and grace and wonder. I am a despised thing that no one wants." And they told him to look, and he looked at his reflection in the pond, and he saw a beautiful, graceful neck. He saw a perfectly formed head. He saw smooth, fluffy, but not too fluffy feathers. And he saw a graceful body. And he breathed in and realised that he was home. He had found his people. He had found the people who would love him, not just because he looked the same as them, but because he was of the same as them. And he was content. Because it doesn't matter what you're like when you're young, and it doesn't matter that people won't know who you are and they won't follow the things that you follow. Because at one point, you're going to find your people. And when you find your fellow swans, you are going to feel beautiful. No matter what you look like, no matter what clothes you wear, no matter what, you'll be home.